What depth should an airworthiness review staff go to while reviewing documentation? So here's another example, and this is a true story. This happened to me. I visited an operator, and there was an aircraft in the hangar. It was on jacks. It was a Dash 8 300, and the nose gear was missing and the #1 propeller. And I was walking through the hangar with the camo manager, and I said, what's this aircraft in for? He said, this aircraft has been in for 3 months. He said it can't fly until we get a nose gear and until we get a prop. And the owner doesn't want to pay for new ones, so we're trying to find a second-hand one with life on it. He said, we purchased the aircraft and we found the anomalies related to what we've just identified, and we need to replace both items. Very expensive, still looking. Why did you not go and do a complete and full records inspection? And the continuing airworthiness manager said the accountable manager did not want to spend money or waste time, which was his words. And I said, well, couldn't you go back and claim against the seller? He said, no. He said, it's like when you buy a car, it's sold as seen. And that's what we did. We signed for that aircraft exactly as it was. We had the records, but we didn't do an in-depth record survey. And that was it. We suffer the consequences. And that is just not a unique story. That can be repeated multiple times. I will always say, anybody that listens, the first time you see an aeroplane, the airworthiness review you should do should be to the deepest possible depth you can, because you will find stuff. And it's a lot easier to get the seller to pay attention when they're waiting for you to pay for something. And it's their obligation. They have to fix it, or they have to agree to pay the costs for you to fix it. So the bottom line, each time you sign an Airworthiness Review Certificate, you're signing for everything. There's no such thing as a limited back-to-birth airworthiness review. And if you look at the EASA regulations, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Every year we do a documentation, and then every 3 years we do back-to-birth plus a full survey of the aircraft. And are we going to then do a full airworthiness review every 3 years, as I said, taking 3 or 4 weeks? Well, it would be nonsense, wouldn't it? Clearly. And that's the thing. If we've brought an aircraft into our organization and we've gone and done a records review from A to Z, back to birth, then we've got confidence in that aircraft, confidence in the system. So the next time I do an airworthiness review, my focus is on what's happened in the last 3 years. Yes, I'm signing for everything, but I'm signing for it with confidence that our system has gone over it in depth, because otherwise it's not possible. Some companies do airworthiness reviews in 3 days, 2 days, on a 737 or a 320. Can you do it? You can, the way I've just described, but you can't if you don't know the aeroplane and you are genuinely going back to birth, looking at the repair history for the last 15 years, for example. You can't do it in 2 days. So it's up to your organization to develop the process and procedures which ensure that you know your aircraft. Once you know your aircraft, you can behave in a let's say, a more connected way and not waste time by doing the same thing over and over again, which is not adding value. It doesn't make it safer, just endlessly repeating the same research back to birth, but not doing it properly at any time. If we do it super properly once, surely we're going to be in the best place possible. As we say here, endlessly repeating the same review is without merit. However, has it been done to the correct depth in the first place? And we could go and use the STC question from previous as a good example. For unfamiliar aircraft, we have to treat in a different way to aircraft which have been in our organization for several years and multiple cycles of airworthiness review. So hopefully that you agree the same way, but nevertheless, you are signing for the airworthiness review for everything. The regulation also specifies airworthiness review staff should have a position independent of the airworthiness review management process or with overall authority over the airworthiness management process. What's the best way to ensure this requirement is met? So it's an interesting question, because I have known where, for example, continuing airworthiness managers have also been airworthiness review staff. And at the end of the day, if you don't have such a person, then the Civil Aviation Authority, the competent authority, can support you to do something that works. For example, one company I was dealing with, the only person that had the qualification to be airworthiness review staff was the technical director. And the competent authority agreed he could be airworthiness review staff. So don't assume that it's not possible until you've tested and asked permission from the regulatory authority for what it is you're trying to achieve. Again, it's scalable. In a large organization, you've got many people who can be nominated as review staff. In a smaller organization, it's typically going to be a challenge, because not everybody has got the background, experience and skill set to be airworthiness review staff. Let me give you an example. If you want to be a continuing airworthiness manager, you're expected to have 5 years experience plus an aeronautical engineering degree or a aircraft maintenance engineer's license. If you don't have a license, you can still be a continuing airworthiness manager, but you have to do another 5 years. So you have to do 10 years. However, airworthiness review staff must have done basic engineering training. And if you haven't, you cannot ever be airworthiness review staff. So as I said, not everybody is eligible to be airworthiness review staff.